You feel it, don't you? That whisper in the quiet moments between obligations. That ache when you see someone living with a freedom you can't name. It's the tension between who you've become and who you're called to be. What if I told you that the life you've carefully constructed, the relationships, the identity, the safety you fought for, is the very cage keeping you from your destiny? The truth nobody tells you about transformation is this: something must die before something new can live. Look at the people you admire most, the ones who transformed industries, healed nations, or simply lived with an authenticity that left you breathless. None of them became who they are by holding on to who they were. They sacrificed their former selves on the altar of becoming. You recognize this pattern everywhere in nature, yet resist it in your own life. The caterpillar dissolves entirely, literally turning to liquid, before reconstructing as a butterfly. The seed's hard shell must crack and rot away before the plant emerges. The snake suffocates within its old skin before breaking free. Yet here you are, clutching the fragments of an outgrown identity, wondering why transformation feels impossible. The most dangerous prison is the one where you've decorated the walls, befriended the guards, and forgotten there's a world outside. That's where most people live, trapped not by circumstances, but by the comfort of familiar limitations. Let me show you what it's costing you. Every morning you wake up and perform the rituals of a life that doesn't quite fit anymore. You smile through conversations that don't touch your soul. You excel at work that doesn't access your gifts. You maintain relationships where you're recognized as someone you no longer are. The worst betrayal isn't what others do to you. It's the daily compromise you make with yourself when you silence the voice calling you toward your true path. Remember when you were younger and felt limitless, before you learned to shrink yourself into acceptable shapes. That version of you is still alive, buried beneath layers of practical compromise and reasonable decisions. You've become so good at adapting to everyone else's needs that you've forgotten how to hear your own. You're the fixer, the reliable one, the person who makes things work, and in the process, you've made yourself disappear. When was the last time you recognized yourself in the mirror? Not your physical reflection, but the eyes looking back. Do they still hold the fire of your original vision? Or have they dimmed with the quiet resignation of someone who stopped fighting for what could be? Who gets threatened when you grow? Whose comfort depends on your smallness? When did you decide their comfort was more important than your becoming? Drop a fire emoji in the comments if you've felt this tension, this pain of living divided against yourself. Joseph Campbell called it the hero's journey, but he never fully prepared us for its emotional toll. In his study of world mythologies, Campbell identified a universal pattern. The hero must leave the ordinary world and venture into the unknown. But what he mentioned only in passing is that this departure requires a death. The death is not just symbolic, it is the literal dismantling of who you've been. Consider the ancient practice of initiation rituals across cultures. In indigenous societies, adolescents underwent trials that symbolically killed their childhood selves. The Maasai youth must hunt a lion. Amazonian tribes endure painful ant stings. Australian Aboriginal youth undertake walkabouts in the wilderness. The purpose wasn't cruelty, it was transformation. These societies understood what we've forgotten. You cannot add the new without removing the old. The initiate returns to the village as someone else entirely. Friedrich Nietzsche captured this in his concept of the three metamorphoses in Thus Spoke Zarathustra. First, the spirit becomes a camel, bearing the weight of societal expectations. Then, it transforms into a lion, destroying outdated values. But even this destruction isn't enough. Finally, it must become a child, capable of new creation and seeing the world with fresh eyes. But here's what Nietzsche understood, that modern self-help glosses over. The lion must destroy, There is violence in transformation, not physical violence, but the necessary destruction of what was. This violence isn't inflicted on others. It's the deliberate dismantling of your comfortable identities. It's letting relationships change or end. It's abandoning career paths you've invested years building. It's becoming unrecognizable to those who thought they knew you. The ancient Greeks had a word for this: kenosis, the emptying of the self to make room for something greater. Before filling a cup, you must first empty it. Before becoming, you must first unbecome. This pattern of sacrifice appears in every spiritual tradition. Jesus spoke of dying to oneself. Buddha left his palace and royal identity. Muhammad retreated to a cave, abandoning his merchant life. Moses fled his Egyptian privilege. Their external journeys merely reflected the internal abandonment of who they had been. Yet we resist this universal truth, hoping instead for addition without subtraction, for gain without loss. The veil of continuity is perhaps the most pervasive illusion in modern life. The belief that transformation can occur while everything remains essentially the same. We've been sold a convenient lie that becoming your best self is merely an addition process. Read this book, take this course, adopt this habit, while maintaining every comfortable aspect of your current existence. This is why so many transformation attempts fail. You cannot pour new wine into old wineskins. The old container cannot hold the new content without breaking. Consider the caterpillar again. When it enters the chrysalis, it doesn't simply grow wings. It releases enzymes that dissolve its body into a cellular soup, completely liquefying its former self. Only from this dissolution can the butterfly's cells form. This is not a continuous process of improvement. It's death and rebirth. There is no caterpillar with wings. There is only the remnants of what was and the emergence of what will be. The custodian of the old self stands guard in your psyche. This inner figure's job is maintenance of identity continuity, ensuring you remain recognizable to yourself and others. It speaks in reasonable voices. Don't burn bridges. Think about your reputation. Consider what others will think. Remember who you are. But transformation requires questioning. Who decided who you are? What parts of your identity were chosen for you, not by you? Which aspects of who you are adaptive responses to environments you no longer inhabit? The custodian's greatest weapon is the narrative of abandonment. It whispers that changing means betraying others. It fails to mention that the greatest betrayal is abandoning yourself. When explorer Hernán Cortés arrived in Mexico in 1519, he ordered his men to burn their ships. The historical accuracy of this story is debated, but its metaphorical power endures. By eliminating the possibility of retreat, Cortés transformed his men's psychology. There was no way back, only forward. What ships are you keeping safely docked for a potential retreat to your former self? Perhaps it's maintaining relationships with people who knew a version of you that no longer exists. Perhaps it's keeping career options open that reflect your past identity rather than your future calling. Perhaps it's preserving habits and routines that keep you tethered to familiar shores. Burning the ships is not recklessness, it's commitment. It's the acknowledgement that transformation isn't a day trip, it's emigration. You aren't visiting a new self, you're becoming one. This is why transformation feels like grief, because it is grief. You are losing someone, the you that was. This grief doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means you're doing it right. The pain of this process creates the nostalgia trap. In the uncomfortable middle space between old and new identities, you'll feel the pull to return to who you were. This nostalgia isn't for people or places. It's for the comfort of your former self, when you knew the rules and roles, when existence didn't require such conscious attention. You will never be more vulnerable to this pull than in the void between identities. The anthropologist Victor Turner called this the liminal space. the threshold between who you were and who you're becoming. It's formless, ruleless, and deeply uncomfortable. Most people retreat from this space back to familiar territory. Here's the first empowering insight. The discomfort of the void is not a warning, it's confirmation. It means you're exactly where transformation happens. The void is not empty, it is pregnant with possibility. Your task is not to escape it, but to endure it long enough for new forms to emerge. You must abandon who you are to fulfill your potential. Let's confront the deeper fear beneath your resistance. It's not change you fear, it's non-existence. Your identity, the collection of stories, roles, and traits you call me, provides the illusion of continuity in a world of constant flux. To voluntarily dismantle this construct feels like choosing annihilation. Who will you be if you're not the responsible one, the high achiever, the peacemaker, the loyal friend, the dutiful daughter, the dedicated employee? Without these anchors, what remains? This is why the prospect of transformation triggers such existential panic. It's not just change, it's the terror of the void where your familiar self used to be. But here's the truth that will set you free. You are not your identity. You are the awareness behind it. You are the consciousness that witnesses the character you've been playing. You are the author, not the story. The reason you feel trapped is that you've mistaken the character for the author. You've forgotten that you wrote this version of yourself into existence, and you can write a new chapter. What parts of yourself have you abandoned to maintain the character others recognize? What passions did you set aside? What truths do you silence? What aspects of your authentic nature have you hidden to maintain approval? You must abandon who you are to fulfill your potential. Every great life is built on the graveyard of former selves. The accomplished artist abandoned the self that needed approval. The visionary leader abandoned the self that played it safe. The revolutionary thinker abandoned the self that accepted conventional wisdom. The snake which cannot cast its skin has to die. As well, the minds which are prevented from changing their opinions, they cease to be mind. These words from Nietzsche aren't metaphorical, they're literal. When you stop shedding identities, your spirit begins to die. Who has the right to expect you to remain unchanged for their comfort? Who appointed them the guardian of your potential? Have you considered that your reluctance to change might be the greatest selfishness? That depriving the world of your authentic gifts to maintain others' comfort is not nobility, but theft. You must abandon who you are to fulfill your potential. The soul punch is this. Every day, you choose the safety of your familiar self over the call to become. You're choosing a slow death over the pain of rebirth. The discomfort of transformation is temporary. The pain of denial is chronic. The most dangerous risk is not that you might become someone else. It's that you might never become who you were meant to be. Return to that whisper you feel in quiet moments, that tension between who you are and who you're called to become. It isn't torturing you, it's guiding you. The discomfort isn't a warning to retreat, it's an invitation to advance. What changes when you finally honor this call? Everything. When you stop clutching your current identity like a life raft, you discover you've always known how to swim. The energy you've been using to maintain an outgrown self becomes available for creation. The mental space occupied by internal conflict clears for insight. The emotional weight of living divided against yourself lifts, revealing a lightness you've forgotten was possible. The relationships in your life transform, not necessarily ending, but evolving. Some people will fall away, unable or unwilling to know the emerging you. This isn't tragedy, it's clarification. Others will welcome your authenticity with relief, having always seen glimpses of who you could be. New connections will form with those who resonate with your authentic frequency. The work you do in the world shifts from obligation to expression. Even if your external activities remain similar, the energy behind them transforms. You're no longer performing a role, you're manifesting an essence. This is not a journey you complete once. Each new level of growth requires another death, another surrender of who you've become to allow who you're becoming. The cycle never ends, but your resistance to it can. The hero's sacrifice is not what you give up. It's who you give up. It's the willingness to become unrecognizable to your former self in service to your calling. Consider the butterfly again. If it clung to any remnant of its caterpillar identity, it would never fly. Its wings would never fully form. Its potential would remain unrealized. Your transformation doesn't just serve you. When you honor the call to become, you create a permission field for others to do the same. Your courage becomes contagious. Your willingness to change makes space for others to change. Leave a comment below with these words: I release who I was. This isn't just engagement, it's declaration. It's drawing a line between your past and your future. It's burning the ships. This exploration of the hero's sacrifice is just the beginning. In my next video, I'll guide you through the specific stages of identity transformation and the practical tools for navigating each one. We'll explore how to identify which parts of yourself are ready for release and which represent your authentic core. We'll examine the neuroscience behind identity death and rebirth. We'll develop strategies for managing the relationships affected by your transformation. This isn't abstract philosophy, it's practical rebirth. Subscribe now to join a community of people committed to the courage of becoming. Hit the notification bell to ensure you don't miss these vital next steps in your hero's journey. Remember, your transformation isn't just personal, it's archetypal. When you change, you alter the field of possibilities for everyone around you. Your courage creates ripples beyond what you can see. In ancient mystery traditions, initiates would hear these words upon completing their ritual death and rebirth. You are not the same, nor are you someone else. This paradox holds the truth of transformation. You don't become someone entirely new. You become more essentially yourself by shedding what isn't. The hero's sacrifice isn't loss, it's reclamation. What you abandon isn't your true self, but the accumulated layers obscuring it. Like the sculptor who removes everything that isn't the statue, you chip away at what isn't authentically you. The call you feel isn't asking you to become someone else. It's asking you to become who you already are beneath the armor, masks, and adaptive strategies. It's inviting you home to yourself. The ships you burn don't carry your essence, only the costumes you've outgrown. Let them fuel the fire that lights your way forward. You must abandon who you are to fulfill your potential. Begin today.